The galactic survey ship Meridian's Hope had been orbiting the uncharted planet designated X7739 for 3 standard cycles when Susan Chen made her discovery. The xenobiologist had cataloged hundreds of species across 24 worlds, but nothing had prepared her for the apex predators of this lush, violet-canopied forest world. The Krathiks, as the ship's AI had designated them, were magnificent creatures. Standing nearly 3 meters tall at full maturity, they possessed 6 powerful limbs, obsidian black scales that shimmered with an oil-slick iridescence, and triple rows of serrated teeth designed for rending prey. Their neural scans indicated problem-solving abilities that rivaled Earth's great apes, and their pack-hunting strategies were among the most sophisticated the survey team had ever documented. Captain Lucas Ward had initially forbidden ground expeditions within 5 kilometers of any Krathik's den site. "I don't care how good your exosuit is, Chen," he'd said during the morning briefing. "Those things can bite through titanium plating. We're observers, not dinner." Susan had smiled politely and agreed. Then she'd waited until the captain was occupied with routine maintenance checks before taking Shuttle 2 down to the forest floor. She wasn't being reckless. Her research simply required closer observation than Lucas's overcautious protocols allowed. The clearing she'd chosen was perfect. Situated 200 meters from the nearest den entrance, it offered excellent sight lines while maintaining what she considered a respectful distance. Susan had deployed her camouflaged observation blind, activated her biosignature dampeners, and settled in with her recording equipment. 4 hours of watching the adult Krathiks hunt had yielded fascinating data. They communicated through a complex series of subsonic growls and chromatic scale shifts. Their hunting formation demonstrated abstract tactical thinking. Susan had been compiling notes when exhaustion finally overtook her. The adrenaline crash hit hard. She'd been awake for 26 hours straight, running on coffee and determination. Just 15 minutes, she told herself, setting a soft alarm on her neural implant. Just a quick rest before heading back to the ship. Susan curled up on the moss-soft ground inside her blind, her head pillowed on her pack. The violet canopy filtered the system's binary suns into gentle lavender light. Within moments, she was deeply asleep. She never heard the cubs approaching. There were 7 of them, each roughly the size of an earth wolf. Their scales hadn't yet developed the metallic sheen of adulthood, instead displaying a mottled pattern of grays and browns that provided excellent camouflage. They'd been exploring at the periphery of their den's territory when they detected something unusual. A strange scent, warm and oddly familiar, emanating from the peculiar structure in the clearing. The boldest cub, a female the research team would later designate Alpha 7, approached first. Her sensory organs detected no threat. The creature inside the structure was small, much smaller than the adult Krathiks. It was warm. It made soft, rhythmic sounds. And most intriguing of all, it smelled like safety. Alpha 7 couldn't have articulated this in any language the humans would understand, but her instincts recognized something profound. This strange, smooth-skinned creature radiated the same pheromone signature that her own mother produced. Curiosity overcame caution. She crept into the blind. Susan continued sleeping, unaware of the 6-limbed predator now standing inches from her face. Alpha 7 extended one clawed appendage, gently touching the human's arm. Warm. Safe. The cub's purr-like rumble echoed from her chest cavity. The sound attracted the others. Within minutes, all 7 cubs had crowded into the observation blind. They investigated this peculiar creature with the fearless curiosity of youth. One nuzzled against Susan's shoulder. Another draped itself across her legs. A third began grooming her hair with a surprisingly gentle tongue, leaving trails of bioluminescent saliva that would later help the rescue team locate her. Susan stirred slightly but didn't wake. Her hindbrain registered warmth and weight but interpreted it as blankets or equipment. The cubs settled in, finding comfortable positions atop and around the sleeping human. Their combined body heat created a cocoon of warmth. Their purring synchronized into a subsonic lullaby. She woke to the sensation of being unable to breathe. Panic flooded her system before rational thought could engage. Susan's eyes snapped open to find herself staring into a mouthful of serrated teeth, inches from her face. She tried to move and couldn't, tried to scream and managed only a wheeze. Every inch of her body was pinned beneath scaled muscular mass. Her implant's threat assessment went haywire. 7 apex predators, Contact distance. No escape route. Survival probability. 0.03%. Chen to Meridian's Hope, she subvocalized through her neural link, forcing her voice to remain steady. Possible emergency situation. I need... Lucas's response was immediate. Susan, what's your status? We lost your signal for 3 hours. She paused, forcing herself to actually observe her situation rather than simply react to it. The cubs weren't attacking. They were sleeping, cuddling. One of them yawned, displaying those terrifying teeth, then nuzzled closer to her chest. Another stretched, its claws extending and retracting without piercing her suit. Susan? Report. I'm pinned under 7 Krathix cubs, she said slowly, her scientific mind beginning to override her survival instincts. I think they're using me as a bed. Lucas, this is incredible. They're exhibiting trust behaviors typically reserved for their own species. The silence from the ship stretched for several seconds. You're telling me, Lucas finally said, his voice tight with controlled anger, that you're currently underneath a pile of apex predator offspring, and your primary emotion is academic interest? They're juveniles, Susan countered, and they initiated contact while I was sleeping. This suggests humans produce a pheromone or bioelectric signature that reads as non-threatening, possibly even comforting to their species. Do you understand the implications for future contact protocols? Another cub shifted, draping a heavy limb across Susan's chest. She grunted under the added weight. The creature made a clicking sound that could have been contentment, then resumed its rumbling purr. I understand that you're going to be written up for 15 different protocol violations, Lucas replied. Sit tight. We're triangulating your position now. And Susan, don't move. Even if they seem friendly, they're still predators. I know. Susan tested her range of motion again. She could wiggle her toes. Her left arm had some mobility. But Lucas, they're also just children. Curious, playful children who happen to have claws. The rescue took 2 hours to organize. By the time Lucas personally led the extraction team to Susan's location, they found a scene that would become legendary in xenobiological circles. The human researcher remained pinned beneath her pile of sleeping cubs, using her free hand to take detailed notes on their respiratory patterns, scale development, and social bonding behaviors. The adult Krathix had returned to the clearing but made no aggressive moves. They watched from the tree line, their chromatic scales shifting through what the AI would later identify as colors associated with curiosity and amusement. When Lucas carefully began extracting Susan from beneath the cubs, the adults simply observed, making no move to defend their offspring from the humans. One cub, Alpha 7, refused to let Susan go, wrapping all 6 limbs around her torso with surprising gentleness. Lucas had to carefully coax the creature away with thermal signatures that mimicked Krathix adult pheromones. On the shuttle ride back to the Meridian's Hope, Susan was unrepentant despite Lucas's threats of disciplinary action. You saw their behavior, she insisted, still cataloging observations. They treated me like family. This changes everything we know about human-alien interaction potential. Lucas sighed, running a hand through his hair. You're lucky those children didn't decide you'd make a good chew toy. They didn't because humans evolved as social, nurturing creatures, Susan replied. Something in our biology reads as safe to them. Don't you see? We're not just survivors or warriors or diplomats. Sometimes we're the universe's babysitters. Despite himself, Lucas smiled. It was the most human fuck-yeah moment of his career. A predator species cubs finding a human comfortable enough to sleep on. Not because humanity was the strongest or the smartest, but because they were trustworthy. 3 months later, first contact protocols with the Krathix civilization were successfully established. Susan Chen's unorthodox methodology became a case study in xenobiological trust building, and somewhere on X7739, a pack of young Krathix retained fond memories of the small, warm creature who smelled like home.